Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Trek Way. Thank you, Gray. That wouldn't be the same unless you'd done that. Today we're doing the Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 5 review. The episode's called Reflections. Really quickly, Gray, when I first started watching this, I wasn't so sure about this episode. I thought it was going to be another episode that was a bit meh, but
Yeah.
saying that, I actually kind of really enjoyed it. Did you give us another like 6 or 7 out of 10 again?
Pretty much like a 7 out of 10, because it's just
You would never
because
get more
it's
than
just
7 out of 10 for Grey for
it has to be something really, really. It would have to be good from end to end for me to go any better than 7. It's not that it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's just I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's decent enough. It's decent enough to keep us entertained.
Yeah.
I should mention something really, really quickly, actually, that I forgot to mention at the very, very start. Something came up on my feed earlier on today, and I don't know if you've seen this, Gray, but if you remember the character from DS9, Kai Wynn, played by Louise Fletcher.
Oh, right.
So she's unfortunately passed away. So I
Louise
just saw
Fletcher?
Yeah, she's passed away. But she was born in
Wow.
1934, so she's had a good innings, but the looks of
Sure,
things.
sure.
I love that character really, really briefly, Gray, from DS9, or slightly diversion. But yeah, of course, at this time, your thought goes out to the friends and the
Well, Louise
family.
Fletcher, people may not remember, but she was the nurse in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is an outstanding film that won Best Picture. Jack
I haven't seen it.
Nicholson.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, but if you ever do watch it, it's one of the best films ever done. It was really good,
Okay,
really
okay.
good. And she was like, I think she won the Academy Award that year.
He's won the Academy
She
Award.
was
Well,
like,
Star Trek
wow,
royalty now.
you watch that movie and you hate her.
She's doing a
The
good job there.
character, she's so good with it. You're just like, ooh, you just want to like, oh my god, she is horrible.
Job done then, right? Okay, Star Trek royalty. So no, obviously, rest in peace, Louise Fletcher, cracking character. I love that character there, and no easy way to progress on, but we'll try our best. So this episode starts with Rutherford having nightmares, and these nightmares were of him trying to stop something from exploding. He was trying to fix something. It's not clear what it is, Gray, but
Yeah.
he basically wakens up, and I can't remember if at that time he wakes up because of the nightmare or because that little malfunction happens in his visor thing. Do you recall which it was?
I thought it was the visor thing, I guess.
Might
I
have
don't know,
been.
but either way, he was disturbed. That's for sure.
Yeah, he was. He was. Something's clearly kind of happened there. But after that, we have the to and fro between the A and the B scenes. Really, we have. It turns out, this is hilarious. Great. Boimler and Beckett have to run a job fair, a booth at the job fair now.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd ever see this in Star Trek. They're just doing day-to-day stuff that we would do in real life in Star Trek. With Ransom keeping a close eye on Beckett. Did you ever think you'd see a booth at a job fair?
I think what made it even funnier, I guess, was that if you've ever been to job fairs before, you definitely clue in on this one. You're going like, "Oh my god!" I said, "You gotta be kidding me!"
Yeah.
They're running the whole thing like a real job fair. Okay. Come join Starfleet. Be a Klingon.
Yeah. All the catchy lines, bold. Some of them, I can't remember what the other ones were. Like to boldly go, or no, the country, the undiscovered country, to go there.
She said, "Discover the undiscovered country."
I was like, it's already been done, Beckett. God damn it. But yeah, that was hilarious. I knew it was going to be hilarious when it started hitting that scene, just because. Random. And then Ransom was like, you better do this, you will do this, Commander Ransom. Otherwise
Ransom was going off on her too. He was like,
his patience is probably thin. She's a bit of a rebellion, Gray. A bit of a rebel even. What's it he threatens at the end, Gray, if she doesn't follow through with this?
I was gonna send her off to Starbase 80, and she's going like, Starbase 80, no, that's
don't even joke about that. Because
I was one of the first times, at least that I remember, where Beckett was actually backing down to Ransom. Because usually she just, but that's because she had the backing of her mother, so she wasn't always afraid. Now it's in Ransom's hands, because her mother, the captain, gave Ransom the duties to take care of her.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now he has to answer to him, and she has no choice, and he's like, he's not taking any crap.
He's not. I mean, Ransom for me, I do like Ransom. We don't see enough of him, and I guess it's again because he's one of the senior crew, and the senior crew are not supposed to be the focus of this, but we do need to see more of it. And obviously, Starbase 80 is awful, so I really want to see an episode where some people go to Starbase 80 because I want to find out what this hellhole is actually really like. Great week.
You mentioned something too, where you don't see the senior crew, and I made a little note saying,
yeah, I was literally about
captain.
to say that. Yeah. You don't see her at all.
Yeah, she just makes a log, and I was thinking she had to pop up somewhere in the episode. She always pops up somewhere, and it's like, no, she's just gone completely.
And that's, well, on paper should be the most important character, but because she's not a lower decker, she's kind of not.
Right, exactly.
And I like the captain. Shame we don't see her, but as long as we see some of these senior crew from time to time, I'm kind of happy. The focus should be on the lower deckers, of course it should be. Yeah. Okay, so we go back to the Cerritos, and Rutherford, after his little glitch on his whatever that thing's called, his visor, his sensor, parts. Yeah, he's kind of like, I don't know, part Cyberman, part Borg. He goes down to sickbay with Tendi, and Tendi actually purges the cache from his little visor thing. But partly this turns out to be, and Grace put a lovely note here, turns out to be resulting in a split personality of a younger Rutherford, right? After she's reset this, he's kind of split from himself, whereas younger Rutherford seems to have taken over his body, like the memories, and the other Rutherford, the older, up-to-date one, the modern one, is the one that seems to be stuck in reflections. And Grace put a note down here of TOS, the enemy within. Now, I vaguely remember that, Gray. I vaguely remember that episode. What briefly is that about for the people that maybe haven't seen that one?
If you've seen the original series, Enemy Within is also one of my top. Excuse me, one of my top TOS episodes, and it's probably the best, or at least one of the best episodes that Shatner's ever done, because everything focused on Shatner for the entire episode.
Yeah.
And Enemy Within is the first show to introduce problems with the transporter that creates a double. So when you see the fact that Boims got into the transporter and it created a double, and it also happened with Frakes, if I remember right, or Riker, that all came from Enemy Within. So on Enemy Within, what happened to Kirk was he was split into two different people. But what it was, though, is that literally half of what he was, from emotions to deep down in his soul, half of that was split off. But the half that was more aggressive, more kind of psychotic, I guess.
Yeah.
And then his other half, who was nicer, if you want to put it that way. But anyway, I kind of put that in there because that started this whole thing with transporter actions, split personality stuff, and it was done first there. And if you've never seen that episode, watch it, because that was Shatner at his best. He really, really did a good job in that one.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one, Gray. That'll be when I get around to that one. I'll refresh my memory, but what I do recall from that, I did thoroughly enjoy that one as well. And of course, the original series spins a lot of this stuff off into later Treks episodes and series where the rinse and repeat, sometimes for the poor, sometimes for the better. See our last special about that one, because we covered that idea there before. I have to mention as well, Gray, we've noted down here that I didn't notice this at first, but obviously after the split of the personalities, younger Rutherford, it turns out to be, actually wakes up and he's like, "Oh, my effing head!" And I didn't catch on immediately what had happened. I maybe turned away for a moment, because normally Rutherford would never swear. He's a very clean Boy Scout, and I was like, "What? Rutherford's swearing?" It's because of him. Now, I know you've noted down here, Gray, the sickbay scene as Rutherford slips into a coma. Dr. Tiana Cat, as you're now calling her.
I know.
Says no funny. It says no funny lines. This is the possible and out of character. Grace protesting, by the way, people, and I have to join them.
Protest.
She didn't swear once. What? Why?
I mean, it was what
What's
was
the
so
point?
silly about it. It was a perfect opportunity for her to drop one of her one-liners, and I was waiting for it. I was going, "Come on, this is gonna be good." And I'm like, What happened? There was no one-liner. She was acting too much like a real doctor, and I'm like, no." I said, "Writers, what's wrong with you?"
Maybe it's because she's she's a new cat now. She's chilled out. She's with Shax now. Shax has made her a better cat.
No, we can't do that. Series goes down the tubes without that.
Okay.
You gotta stay there, man.
I have to protest as well. That's a good shout, Gray. Actually, yeah, I missed the fact she didn't swear, man. That's kind of nuts. We go back to the planet again, Gray, and we've got the job fairs kicking off. And there's this archaeologist in a booth right next to them, and every time Beckett and Boimler, or Boims as we're now calling them, tries to advertise something about the Federation or Starfleet or join up, the archaeologist is just poking fun all the time, Gray, and taking the piss. She's like, "Oh, don't join up. You want to be Borg, really? Like, no, don't. It's not for you. Don't join up." And Beckett and the archaeologist just start having a bit of a ding dong, and just, there's insults kind of flying across, and I think there's a scrap about to kick off. I found that amusing, and that's just the start of what actually happens between the archaeologist and Beckett. We move back to the Sirius again, and let's say both storylines in this episode I really enjoyed, Gray, but actually, what one did I like more? I probably liked the one, the Cerritos, a little bit more, actually, but they're both good. Younger Rutherford, who we've never actually seen. Now, bear in mind, Rutherford, as we know just now, was like this character to an extent, or at least, probably completely back in the day.
He definitely was the younger Rutherford until, we'll talk about that in a second. But that was him then, not now.
Yeah, younger Rutherford. Completely different man. He's trying it on with the ladies. He's flirting with people, and then the trapped image of older Rutherford in the view screen window is how he actually kind of communicates and talks with his younger self. And he said, "No, I'll need to speak to Tindy. We'll need to get this sorted." He's like, "Who's Tindy?" He's like, "Oh no, shut up! I'm not saying nothing. I'm saying no, not too late. Get younger Rutherford on the computer, right? We'll take Tindy." And he's about to go and see her, but I think for whatever reason, I don't know how this works. Younger Rutherford can inflict a bit of pain and violence on. No, older Rutherford can inflict. This is going to be confusing. Yeah. Current Rutherford can get some digs in and some violence in with his younger self by actually punching himself in the little sensor, the eye sensor thing that he's got, which obviously causes it to short circuit a little bit and causes a bit of pain. So we one thing to note though, Gray, I want your opinion on this one, right? What we've mentioned below as well is a rare appearance of a Captain's yacht. You very rarely ever see it. You don't see it fly, I don't think, in this episode, do you? No, you don't see it fly, but you see it. It's I'm surprised it's on a Cali-class ship, because not every starship has one. We've seen rare appearances through time, haven't we, of Captain Yachts? There's one on Enterprise E, which we do see fly the odd time. There is one on Voyager, which we never see fly, which I'm pissed off about. We want more Captain Yachts in Star Trek, Gray, do we not?
I think it makes sense, because I mean, if you're a captain of a ship, you should have at least some special things. You have a bigger cabin, you have a ready room, you have your yacht. I mean, comes with the title.
It comes with a title, and I wonder if older ships back in the day, like the Navy days, like the old sail ships, I wonder, they didn't have a captain's yacht, I don't think. And a lot of stuff is based on Navy, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think, and I'm not talking from knowing everything, but I believe on some of the Navy ships, at least the captains do get, if they have to leave the ship, which they don't usually, they get ferried off in style. A helicopter will come get them. Not like
olden days, Gray. Olden days,
right?
There are no helicopters.
I think they kind of play off of that a little. But if you think about it, you would need probably a yacht more in space because you're out there for God knows how long. So I could kind of understand it.
Yeah.
Plus, plus, if you're going to do diplomatic stuff, you got to fly down in something that looks fancy, right?
And not one of the crappy little shuttlecrafts, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you don't want that. You want like those ships we saw in the what was it in the older episode of Lower Decks with the sails? Remember that ship with
yeah,
the big giant
the
solar
Bajoran,
sails?
the Bajoran sail ships.
Those were
Yeah,
cool. So you have to
yeah,
go down in something that looks, fancy, whatever.
yeah. The DS9 episode where Cisco and his son Jake, I don't know if they build it or repair it or something, but yeah, that was fantastic. That sail ship, I love that.
Yeah.
The concept of that is based on theory, like a lot of Star Trek is, of course. But yeah, so
but
Yep.
going on your point though, I would love to see them play around a little more with that. See little things that you don't always see. I mean, especially since CGI is, I'm not going to say easier to do, but it's easier in respects to you don't have to build a model. So this way we could get, you know, fancier stuff that would exist. I like seeing little things like that thrown in. It's cool.
It's 100% easier to do. Definitely great. I'm not saying it's less work or it's less expensive, but it's definitely
right.
easier to do.
Money wise,
yeah. So yeah, more captain shots, please, and things like that in Star Trek. That would be good, guys. We're starting to find out a little bit, Gray, slowly but surely, how or why Rutherford got his implant, because he's getting images, he's getting flashbacks. He's remembering things that he didn't remember from beforehand. There's scenes of racing ships through the neutral zone, which I loved. That was pretty entertaining, actually, because you don't really see that side of Rutherford. And he's a character you don't actually get a lot of attention on in this series at all,
right.
I think, Gray. He's probably one of the lesser known guys in this series, if I remember rightly. But right enough, back to the planet again.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the planet. We're at the booth again. And we've got... I found this amusing, Gray, because I've written here, you never have to go back. What did I put here? You never have to
go back in time to save her.
That's
the archaeologist said.
Yeah, that was a ding-dong.
She was throwing the bar back at Beckett and saying, like, oh, if you join Starfleet, you never have to go back in time to save her. And then Beckett says something like, well, we only did it 3 times. No, wait, 4. Well, maybe 5.
And again, that's going back to our thing before of don't remake things too much because you ruin it. You had a little moment about that, Gray. You had a little point, didn't you, where you were like, stop doing it, guys, please.
Yeah, they won't, but yeah.
It was your guy from... it only happened... It should have happened. Once. Yeah, it just happened once in Babylon 5, I think you told me, and then dropped it. Yeah. We just stop doing it, guys. Unless you wait for a long time and then do a really, really good episode and something.
Stop doing it. If you want to know more about what we're talking about, you have to go back and watch the other video.
You do.
And so subscribe to this channel and go back and watch it.
It's the last episode. It's just one of the specials we do. We're not doing reviews. We spent a good 45 minutes on that, actually, which was pretty entertaining. But yeah, the ding dong, as I like to call it, is hearing up between Beckett and the archaeologist. And what I found amusing here was the conspiracy. One of the guys walking past asks, "Will we learn what really happened to Cisco and why parasites climb up the backsides of admirals?" Now, these are the conspiracist nuts that you would have in modern society, right? And they're obviously still there in the future. I had a chuckle at that. They didn't say backsides. I'll leave that to your imagination. And we want to know why you don't have any butt bugs. That's a thing now in Lower Decks. But
apparently. It's kind of like that one, the little creature that crawled in the ear on Wrath of Khan.
That little creature, Gray. I love the Wrath of Khan. I've told you this before. I went to see it at the cinema for its anniversary. I still freak out at that, but I hate it. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. I can't look at it. I just turn away. I don't know why. Yeah. Weak stomach.
Yeah, it is a little interesting. But
that isn't a butt.
Imagine Imagine it crawling up the other end.
Yeah, that isn't that one in your ear. Oh, actually, I don't know which I would rather have. What they sound both pretty awful. But yeah, butt bugs. And what did you put here, Gray? If I join Starfleet, do I get that uniform?
Yeah, there was two people that walked up there. They were, I forget, they were, I don't know, scientists or whatever they were. And they just go, if I join Starfleet, do I get that uniform? And they were obviously saying it as a joke, but Boims wasn't getting it. He's going like, yeah, you get this uniform and you get this kind of uniform. And he's going like, I can't believe you believe what I just said. And they start laughing at him.
Yeah.
It was funny.
It's heating up nicely on the planet between these two rival booths. The Battle of the Booths, we'll call it. Jumping back to Cerritos again, great. We have the Rutherfords because now he can talk and see his younger self pretty easily. And they have this kind of conversation between them about why they're both there and what's happened and the fact that his older memories have been suppressed or removed, and that's why the implant goes on. And he finds out, he remembers a lot of what he was like as a younger man. He didn't know this. This was all brand new to modern Rutherford. And back in the olden days, they made racers. And I get vibes of that episode, Grey, of Voyager, where the Delta Flyers involved, and we'll touch on that in a moment, and space races. And they don't build the Delta Flyer for that one, but it's already there. But they have cool little races. I like that little nod, Grey, to Voyager because it's my favourite show, of course. You know. But yeah, so they have their own ships. They're
allowed to build it any way they want.
No holds barred. No holds barred. They do exactly what they want, and they're going to have a race to see which conscience remains because they both can't remain. It's impossible for them both to remain. They have to decide in a race. The younger Rutherford's got the racing smarts, and he's a good engineer. Of course he is because he's Rutherford. But the modern Rutherford is a very good engineer. So who's going to make the better ship? So do you want to tell the guys what ships they come away with in the end, Gray? This was a little nod to Voyager.
Basically, the younger Rutherford comes up with what would be equated to a kind of like a drag racer. He comes up with a concoction that looks like a drag racer.
Vulcan parts.
Right, all kinds of stuff thrown together, but looks cool and everything. Yeah. And looks actually closer to a speeder from Star Wars. But anyway, but when we go to the older Rutherford, all of a sudden he pulls back the curtain and there's the Delta Flyer, which we haven't seen since Voyager. And then he starts mentioning Paris, from Voyager, who helped create it and build it and fly it and all that stuff. And I'd have to go back and look at the episode, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. And the outfit that the older Rutherford puts on is a Voyager outfit, and it was Paris's outfit. He fashioned it after Paris's outfit.
Yep.
So I don't know if people caught on to that one, but it was like, oh yeah, okay, I remember that. So that was pretty cool to see the Delta Flyer, and he's going like, yeah, man, this thing is great. I'm not worried about it. But being the normal Rutherford, he's going like, oh, and I made an outfit for it. I'll have to show it to you. And the younger Rutherford's going like, please, But it was cool. The whole scene was pretty neat.
Yeah,
I did enjoy that.
I like the little nods because he mentions Tom Paris's name, Rutherford. Obviously a hero of his from the previous season where Tom Paris was on a bloody plate, a talking plate. I've seen it all now. Anyway, I digress as we do here. Now I can't believe I missed this part out, Gray. Thank you for coming to the rescue. We go back to the planet at the booths, the Battle of the Booths as we're calling it, and there is a little comment made about why the uniforms are always changing, which you touched on before, which is a very good bloody point. Keep the same uniform for a while would be nice. You put people at the job otherwise. Now, we have a Boimler going nuts, guys. We have a Boimler just losing the plot. He's freaking out. And he leaves the booth, but he holds it in. No, actually, no. Sorry. Bex wants to freak out, but she holds it in, doesn't she? But instead, it's Boimler that goes nuts. Now, normally Beckett would go nuts, wouldn't she? She's the one
Right.
that's a bit off the handle.
I mean, she
Boimler,
was kind of going nuts, but she wasn't leaving the booth because she didn't want to go to Starbase 80. But I
the
thought she was,
hellhole.
we all thought it was going to be Beckett that would freak out and leave the booth eventually. But no, Boims, which was unexpected, which was fun,
Yeah.
decided that he was going to go completely bonkers as soon as one of the aliens or whatever that was talking to Boims grabs the pin, his rank pin off of his collar,
Yeah.
and says, "Oh, you even wear jewelry?" And she throws it over his shoulder. You don't do that to Boims, and he just goes
And crushes it. And stands there and crushes it. And
"Oh."
that sets him off, doesn't it? Yeah.
And then he starts flipping over tables and smashing booths, and everybody's like jumping under their table, frightened.
What's some of the things he says, Gray?
Oh God, there's so many things. But one of the things, he goes over to the collectors group who had just visited him before, and he goes, "Collecting doesn't make you happy. Your ships smell like ass." And I'm like, no, that's great. And then later, as he's smashing more things up and saying more funny junk, he comes back with, "I failed the Kobayashi Maru 17 times."
He seems proud of himself almost, man. You know?
Yeah, or something. I don't know. Wow, it was fun just watching him go completely bonkers everywhere. And Beckett was trying, and the funny thing is, Beckett was trying, like, "Boims, no, Boims, no, come back, no, don't do that." And he's just like, "Whoop."
But this is it. He's held it in for far too long. It's not bold Boims now. It's just angry Boims. And it was actually hilarious to see. And for whatever reason, this jogged a memory, Gray, of the awful 90% awful Star Trek special day that we done a special on as well a few episodes ago, where if they just shown us the content, we would have been happy and left out all the cringe. But the character that plays Boimler couldn't actually. Sorry, the actor that plays Boimler couldn't actually make it. He was busy for whatever reason in his hotel room doing something else. So hopefully more of the boys. That'd be nice. He leaves that scene at the end, that interview thing he does, by doing his trademark scream, which was not as good when it's in the voice booth. It's better, but he just screams and runs away, and I went, "That's brilliant." I love how he screams in that. That's just, but yeah, okay, people, we digress in this. Greg has something in his mind.
I'll tell you, the voice actor had to have a blast doing that episode where Boims goes nuts. He had to.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he just doesn't get to do that kind of stuff, and this time you actually got to go bananas. He was really into it. He's screaming.
I hope they gave him an actual. See the booth that they're in. Speaking of booths, we're still on booths. Booths in Starfleet and booths for recording voices. The booth that he was in, I hope they gave him some kind of stuff that he could just wreck and throw about to get right into character. Because see, trying to be angry like that and stand still is difficult. You want to like?
That's true. You got to kind of. A lot of the voice actors, if you ever watched them, when
they're animated with their whole bodies, aren't they?
Their hands are everywhere. Their faces are everywhere. They say they got to do that to be able to try to stay in the character. You can't just be a head.
It's impossible
to do that.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
But I love his work. I love his work, and I love the character. So long may it continue. So we go back to a race, Gray, right, between the Rutherfords, and whoever's first wins. That's simple, and the other consciousness is deleted. Harsh, but that's the way that they've agreed it. But because this race is supposed to go through the neutral zone partially, because it's an illegal race, of course it is. Drag racing in the future, or street racing in the future, it's the equivalent. We see a Romulan warbird, the Dederdix class, I think. No,
yeah, it's a big one.
It's the big one. I can't remember the actual class, but it's the original proper one from the Next Generation. Comes out of cloak and starts firing at them. So I was like, here we go. The proverbial set the fan. And the thing is, because younger Rutherford has got the racing smarts that current Rutherford has forgotten about, he's pulling off in the distance by a decent amount. But you think our Rutherford is going to lose the race. He's screwed, But then he said, no, wait a minute, hang on, turns round, and then he starts speaking to Beckett, he starts speaking to Boimler, and the other Rutherford's like, what the hell? Like, what? And he starts speeding on. He said, current Rutherford said, we said anything goes. You might be building this and that and making the fancy ship, but I've got my crew. I'm nothing without my pals and my crew. And between the few of them, they actually start going ahead and starting to win the race. But then we move on to younger Rutherford. The Romulan Warbird smashed it up. It's got shots on it, and it looks like he's dying here. Great. Now, I've never really been sad at Lower Decks, but I was a little bit sad here, I must admit, because I liked the younger Rutherford. Did you?
Yeah, because I think it was because you knew it was really Rutherford when he was younger. So in a sense, kind of part of Rutherford was actually dying. And
Yeah.
so you started to feel bad because of that, even though it was more of a conscious entity kind of deal.
Yeah.
But even so, you did feel kind of bad. So I wasn't sure how they were going to handle that. Now he died, but he died, but he didn't die. It's again, it's all it kind of in the consciousness. It's his consciousness fighting against his own consciousness.
And what's it he does at the end,
but
Gray? There, after he's dying or just before he dies?
oh,
There, he does
he does the whole mind meld thing straight from Wrath of Khan. It's just like what Spock did. He just goes, remember.
Yeah.
And that was like, but the only difference was in Wrath of Khan, of course, said remember to McCoy, and we didn't know what that meant until the next movie. But in this show, as soon as he said remember, he started to remember.
Yeah.
And then we got this whole shot of apparently some kind of conspiracy. It looked at, from what we can gather, the young Rutherford was building, I don't know what he
Something.
was building, some machine or engineering or help.
The one that
part of a warp
explodes at the
engine.
start of the episode, I think, we presume.
Maybe, yeah. And so then we find out that he was getting a little bit too, whatever, and he thought was invincible, and he did something wrong, and the thing blows up and tears up half his face and everything. And so now we're starting to put two and two together, going like, oh, okay, so Rutherford was in an accident when he was young. This messed up part of his face and his head and everything, thus the need for a cyborg implant. But what we didn't understand, and they showed in the scenes, was that, and it was all kind of dark, so you couldn't see their faces, you only saw their voices. But Rutherford is remembering that these people, apparently the explosion may not have been Rutherford's fault, but something in the program that he was in, the actual Starfleet program, that those guys, the higher up, screwed up. So basically it became a cover up, and the Rutherford that we know, the cyborg implant, was a cover up. And only now does the real Rutherford find out that it was a cover up.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because they haven't really thrown a mystery like that in Lower Decks that obviously isn't going to be solved in one episode. Well, maybe it will. I don't know. But I'm guessing they're going to let it hang out there a little bit until they have some kind of episode that reckons this whole thing.
Yeah. At least the end of the season, if not next season. We won't find out anytime soon, I don't think. Great. Maybe at the end of the season at a push.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. That bit was a bit sad, and I did like the Wrath of Khan nod to be fair. But Gray's noted here as well that when Rutherford wakes up, Tendy's obviously very deeply moved, and she's very emotional. She's hugging Rutherford a lot. And obviously, yeah, like we've said this before, that people should couple off in this show a little bit. It's a bit obvious. Tendy and Rutherford are obviously a thing. It's obvious that she's got a thing for him. And there probably should be a couple, to be honest here. What did you put after here, Greg? Younger Rutherford meets an S03E05. Is that towards the start of the episode?
It was when the young Rutherford had taken over his body and started going around the hallways of the Cerritos, and he stops a young ensign, a female, and he started saying, kind of rude comments to her, whatever. She makes the comment, "You went on me for you dated me 4 times, and you don't remember what department I'm in." Like, okay, what? Dated her 4 times. So I'm sitting there going like, so when was that? Was that before he met Tendy, or? So that was kind of something I just picked up on. I was just kind of like, okay. Well,
yeah, I do remember that actually from earlier in the episode. Yeah, when he's going round you, out of a sleaze bag.
I'm going to assume that those 4 dates were before he got serious with Tendy, because apparently he's serious.
He's not serious with Tendy. You don't know this. They're not a couple yet. It's not official.
Look at the way he hugs her and everything at the end.
Well, and also because it can't be Boimler, because Boimler's seen her just wearing a bloody bath towel, and he didn't even flinch, so didn't even notice it was happening. So, guy's hopeless. But yeah, okay. So closing in on the end here, Greg. So Boimler does actually have to spend a night in the brig for his outrage. But the thing is, Ransom was kind of impressed with him. He said, we have to lock you up for the night. He thought he was getting carted off to like Starbase 80 or somewhere like that, But no, he's just he's just going in the brig for the night to cool down. And I think Ransom's impressed because of the way he was sticking up for Starfleet and Cerritos and all that. And that gave me a little bit more respect for Ransom. Ransom suggests drinks afterwards. So, like Boimler keeps getting these little Shax owes him a favour. Now the commander doesn't owe him a favour, but it's on his good side.
Okay.
And you mentioned here, Gray, that Boimler had done Beckett a huge favour with his outburst, as Ransom was also impressed with Beckett recruiting a bunch of people into Starfleet, which is a good shout, because when the commander goes down to the planet to see what happens, he stepped up to the booth round the corner as if he was going to see a shit show, as if he was going to see hardly anyone there and it'd be a waste of time. And he's about to open his mouth and he's like, wow, I'm surprised there's a bunch of people all around the booth wanting to get in. And why did they want to get in? Because like they see this action with Boimler going nuts. They went, I want a piece of this. All these recruits are like, yeah, if this happens in Starfleet, I want to join in, man. I want to be part of this. So
every alien race is lining up, and then one of them sits and goes like, he says, "Well," he says, "Well, it's that." He says, "If I can get that kind of confidence that Boims has, I'm in for Starfleet." And then she goes, "Do they have engineering?" And they go, "Yeah." He says, I'm into that. And they're all signing up.
It was great. They both done well. They both done well, Gray. Both Beckett and Boimler, safe to say, in this episode. We have the archaeologist back again. Who contacts Beckett back on the ship. She's trying to kind of recruit her. She's trying to get Beckett into a new venture because she sees her potential. She can see what she's capable of, and she's sitting there with the Grand Negus's staff. That which I had a chuckle of, like, you just stole this, man. How did you steal that? But I was impressed that the archaeologist, when I first met her, I was like, why? Well, that's going to be boring. But she was a brilliant catalyst for this episode, I have to say.
And I guess it may set up a possibility of another episode where Beckett maybe thinks Starfleet isn't her thing.
No. Well, we could do, but I hope. Yeah, she's always going to choose Starfleet in the end. She better. When you don't have Lord Dex.
I mean, it really does open it up to another episode. The archaeologist is going to have to come back.
I would like to see her back
someday.
Yeah, she's done a good job. Well, we've got some closing notes here, Greg, where we mentioned. I think we've touched on this before. It was a good episode. Good character development for Rutherford, because we don't see a lot of him, as we discussed before.
Right.
And obviously the best scene was Boimler blown up. Hands down, yeah, brilliant. No doubt, yeah. Lost comedic opportunities for Dr. Cat as well.
Well, the reason why I want to point that out is because not only was there an opportunity at the beginning, like I had mentioned, there was a second opportunity where whatchamacallit, Rutherford was waking up from the coma. The other one was when he was in the coma. This time he's waking up from the coma, and Dr. Tiana just goes, "Oh, okay, hold on, you'll be fine, don't worry." And I'm going like, okay.
Now you say
I'm ready for the one-liner, and then again, no one-liner. And I'm sitting there going, "Come on, are you kidding me?" There's two opportunities for the writer. I'm sitting there thinking, like, man, the writer that wrote this episode does not understand that character.
What would you have said, Greg? If you could have put a line in for Dr. Cat, do you know what I would have said? I would have went, thank F that you made it. I thought you were a goner.
Yeah, anything, something like that. Or she could have said something like, "It's about time you wake up."
You lazy bee.
You lazy blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But she would. I mean, I maybe it's a small thing, but I do really like that character a lot. Dr. Tiana Cat, as I call her. But it was perfect. It was an opportunity for really funny stuff to be dropped on there. Every show you see her on, that character, she says something funny, even if it's only something very little. She doesn't say a darn word. Nothing funny.
See if these
at all.
If the senior crew ever make an appearance, it has to be good. It has to not just be for the sake of it. So yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's why Gray and I both put it down as a 7 out of 10, because a lot of these episodes are a 7 out of 10, which isn't a bad thing. That means it's classed as good. It's just not classed as excellent. Yeah. And maybe it would have been nudged up to an 8 out of 10 if we'd got some more Dr. Cat lines to make it even funnier. The episode, it's possible. So you've lost out one percentage point there out of 10. Lord X for not having Dr. Cat
Sorry.
cursing.
Actually, what I think I might do one day, I've thought about this before, but I'm saying it vocally now. I might go back on all the episodes one day and pull out every single Dr. Tiana scene and put them all, edit them all
Montage.
together. Because they're just so good. I mean, they're just so good.
Right.
And they're even funnier in context to the story, but she also brings up stuff from old Star Trek shows, even going back to the original series. She brings up stuff, and it just makes it hilarious.
Right.
She's great. I mean, that character's great.
You've heard it here first, people. Grace said he's maybe going to do that. We're going to hold him to it that he's probably definitely going to do it now, because we want a montage of the cat just cursing and swearing. That would be hilarious. Gray does this from time to time, people, which is pretty cool. He'll pull little montages and clips together of like funny scenes or memorable scenes or of dialogue in Star Trek, so we might see that again. So yeah, no, it was decent. 7 out of 10, I would say. Safe to say, not bad. Hopefully can get a cheeky 8 out of 10 in the next episode. But yeah, that pretty much wraps us up for today. Thank you, Mr. Gray, for coming along as usual. Sure. And if you like people diversion from the subject, breaking it down, just having a general chat about the episode, please always thumbs up, and a cheeky subscribe would always be appreciated. Any comments below are always welcome, because we don't pretend to be perfect at this, and any improvements or any things you would like to see or suggest, always note them down. We would like to interact with people. So, but until the next time, live long and prosper, I guess, Gray. See you later, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.